The last primitive mission to the moon was Apollo 17 in 1972, and since then, humans have not returned to the moon. However, as they get ready to return, a major new discovery is about to change everything. Humans have successfully landed on the lunar surface 6 times using technology from the 1960s. By 2024, the first woman and the second man will set foot on the moon as part of the government-funded Artemis program, ushering in a new era of lunar exploration. A potential location for the lunar base is the Shackleton crater, which is more than 12 miles wide and 2 miles deep, or roughly as deep as the Earth's seas. Artemis Base Camp might begin construction there by 2028. The moon is a treasure trove of valuable resources like gold, platinum, and other rare earth metals, but that's not all. Water is a valuable resource when it comes to any kind of off-world exploration. If you split water into hydrogen and oxygen and then liquefy the two, you can make rocket fuel. So why build a lunar base, and what would it be used for? The moon is a treasure chest of valuable resources like gold, platinum, and other rare earth metals, but that's Earth-based spacecraft might refuel at the lunar base or in the moon's orbit. The Artemis missions will provide a definitive solution to the question of whether water ice exists in the bottom of Shackleton crater, where scientists now believe it may or may not. Although water ice has been found in many other locations on the moon, if it is present in the crater, it would be possible to utilize it as a resource. Additionally, NASA estimates that there may be 600 million to 1 billion metric tons of lunar ice that could be harvested. If this ice could be successfully mined, the moon would serve as an interplanetary fuel depot for missions to Mars. However, there are a lot of tasks that must be completed before we can construct our lunar headquarters. The Space Launch System rocket, the most potent rocket ever created, the Orion spacecraft, a lunar gateway, which will orbit the moon continually, and the Human Landing System, which will transport astronauts to the surface, are the 4 key components of the Artemis program. If all goes according to plan, we might be landing people on the moon by 2024. Early Artemis flights will be focused on testing all the components. The first phase includes these 3 missions. The mission, dubbed Artemis 1, is scheduled to launch in November 2021 and will serve as an unmanned test flight for the SLS rocket and the Orion spacecraft. To ensure that the spacecraft is secure for astronauts is the mission's main objective. Additionally, it will transport 13 tiny satellites for independent scientific and technological research. The first crewed flight test will be the Artemis 2 mission in 2022, which will determine whether Orion's vital life support systems are prepared to support humans on future missions of a longer duration. 4 astronauts will be needed to travel to the moon's orbit. Once there, they will stay there for 4 days before returning to Earth. The crucial Artemis 3 mission, which will put people on the moon in 2024, will need this mission as its final practice run. The Space Launch System, the most potent rocket ever created and, when operational, the most capable super heavy lift vehicle in the world, has been in construction since 2011 when it was first revealed by NASA as its future rocket for deep space adventures. The SLS is powered by the Interim Cryogenic Propulsion Stage, which is a modified second stage used in the current generation of Delta IV rockets. The Interim Cryogenic Propulsion Stage has 4 Aerojet Rocketdyne RS-25 engines in its core stage and 2 expandable Block 1 and Block 1B solid rocket boosters. It is possible to add an additional exploratory upper stage to send a payload 364 feet above low Earth orbit. It is a powerful rocket that is somewhat taller than the Saturn V rocket that launched the first humans to the moon. Over 130 tons or 286.06 pounds of payload may be launched by the SLS into low Earth orbit. Space Launch Technologies, the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MCV, is going to be NASA's basic spacecraft to explore deep space. For the Artemis program, it'll be the primary crew transport to the moon and also planned to be used for missions to Mars. Block 1 rockets will launch the first few Artemis missions. They will then be upgraded to Block 1B and eventually Block 2, which will be able to take the Orion spacecraft directly to the Moon in a single launch and possibly beyond. Lockheed Martin Corporation constructed the crew capsule, service module, and launch abort system make up the Orion MCV. The only part of the Orion MCV that will return to Earth is the crew capsule command module, which can hold up to 6 astronauts but will typically only hold 4. It will be joined by the European Service Module, which was designed by Airbus Defence and Space, and will serve as the spacecraft's main source of power and propulsion until it is discarded at the end of each mission. Finally, because the entire orbit spacecraft is perched on top of a rock, it will be subject to vibrations. During a typical mission, Orion will ignite its lone AJ-10 hypergolic rocket engine and launch itself into a lunar orbit after disengaging from the SLS outside the Earth's atmosphere. Orion may spend up to 6 months docked and 21 days undocked in space. The Gateway is an important part of the Artemis program and serves as a staging area for lunar surface exploration and eventually deep space missions. Once finished, it will be a fully functional lunar space station with its own propulsion unit, solar-powered communication hub, science laboratory, habitation units, and docking ports for spacecraft payload modules and landers. It will also function as a crew transfer facility, research platform, payload warehouse, and NASA, the Canadian Space Agency, the European Space Agency, and the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency are all partners in the Lunar Gateway project. The 55-ton outpost's power and propulsion component's initial component is planned to launch into space in 2022. By 2023, the habitation and logistics outpost will be built on Earth and launched into lunar orbit. Additional modules, including as a robotic arm logistics module, various airlocks for spacecraft, and a sample return vehicle, will be added. With only 13% of the International Space Station's total pressurized volume, or the size of a comfortable 5-bedroom house, the Lunar Gateway will be significantly smaller than the ISS. Because of this, unlike the ISS, the Gateway won't be manned continuously but will be occupied at least once a year by a robotic system powered by artificial intelligence called Canadarm3. The system for human landing. This technology includes a built-in lander vehicle that can return and forth from the Moon's orbit and land people there. As 3 U.S. businesses have been chosen by NASA to design and construct human landing devices for the Artemis mission, all 3 technologies will be employed. The Integrated Lander Vehicle, a 3-stage spaceship owned by Blue Origin, will be launched using both the company's New Glenn rocket system and the ULA Vulcan launch system. The Genetics Human Landing System, which will launch on the ULA's Vulcan launch vehicle, is being developed by the U.S. Business Genetics Corporation as a single structure with ascending and descent capabilities. Finally, SpaceX will use the Starship Super Heavy to launch its modified Starship Luna lander, which is presently undergoing testing. The combined cost of these 3 contracts is anticipated to be $968 million, and they will serve as the foundation for the next Artemis missions. When it comes to cargo carrying capacity, getting onto and off the lunar surface, mission duration, and survivability once Phase 1 is through, each lander has various characteristics. The Moon will be the focus of the second phase of the Artemis program, which will start in 2024. During this phase, the Lunar Gateway will be used to conduct research and let astronauts travel to the Moon's surface. Science experiments in the fields of planetary science, astrophysics, space biology, and human physiology will also start. Once on the lunar surface, NASA and its partners will construct the Artemis Base Camp to facilitate extended surface missions during this phase. NASA is developing the Volatiles Investigating Polar Exploration Rover Viper, a lunar rover that will arrive in the Moon's South Pole in late 2023 and start a 100-day mission searching for water ice to aid in human advancement. If all goes according to plan with the Artemis program, we may see a fully functional lunar base within the next 10 years. From that point on, the Artemis program will gradually increase the capabilities on the Moon. This will be the first stage in preparation for the human exploration of Mars. I don't know about you, but we find that to be incredibly intriguing and can't wait to see how it all turns out. Humans have been living and working in space above the planet for the past 20 years in preparation for the day when we leave the solar system. The time has come.